Well, I'm here with Joe Rotella, and he's going to share his gorgeous inspiration book with us. Joe, show me what you brought.
Well, you know, I find a lot of times I'm using the same techniques over and over and over again, and I kind of get in a rut. So I decided to make a little book to try to show all the different materials I could work with, all the different things I could do. So I put some vinyl here on the front page. And
the detail cutting on that is amazing.
Oh, I love it. And I put some envelopes so that when I have ideas, I can just shove them in there. And I thought we could add a new page to the book today.
I love that idea.
So I'm going to pass that over to you.
Thank you.
I just started with some plain chipboard album, and I covered both sides of it with paper, inked the edges, and we're going to make this little tiny mushroom house.
So cute. It looks like a Smurf house to me.
He started as a little card and the little door opens, but we're going to make them a little smaller and we're going to put them on the album.
Cool. Well, show us how you're going to do it.
Well, I'm using an electronic cutting machine, and the nice part about this is I can go find any image that I like on the web and just bring it right in. This is a coloring book image of a mushroom house, and it's one of my favorite things to work with. Now,
Joe, are there any rules about like what kind of images you can use or anything like that?
Well, when you're cutting and piecing things together, stained glass windows, coloring pages work the best. But in terms of licensing, you want to be sure if you're going to resell anything that you've checked the royalty policy, copyright policy, angel policy. Since this is for personal use, I feel fine just using it in this project. So there's my little mushroom house, and what I want to do now is do every piece in a different color so I can just break it up. And the nice part of breaking it up is now I can pull out all these separate components.
Oh, so it's like a paper piecing that we're used to having to take a really long time to cut each layer individually. But what you're doing is in the software, you're dividing it up so that you'll be able to just do it all in one pass through the machine.
In one fell swoop. And I'm just going to lay out the pieces, different parts of the mat. And then there's a lot of little pieces here that are so tiny, like the doorknob is probably less than 1/8 of an inch. I can just delete it. When I'm all done there, I have all the pieces for the house. But I'd like to go a step further. And I actually have them already laid out here, all done, ready to roll. And I've got some titles. I want to add a title to that. So I'm going to go ahead. You can see I worked on it already, but let me show you what I did. I'll just get rid of it. I can go over here and pick any font that's on my machine, and that gives you a ton of flexibility. And choose fonts that really match the theme of your design. I like this black chancery. It kind of looks a little bit Fantasia-like.
Yeah, I was thinking it's a very fantastical, fun font.
I'm just going to write the word fantasy and put that on the mat. Now, if I zoom in, you'll see if we were to cut this just the way it is, it's going to cut all these individual letters.
Right.
And I don't want to sit and glue all those individual letters.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It's a lot of work. It's nice, but I'm kind of moving fast. So I'm going to just drag each letter over so they overlap. And when I do that, I can then grab everything together and weld it.
With just
and now
click of the
it
mouse.
Overlaps it, yep. And similarly,
so that's all going to cut out then as one big piece that you just glue all together.
And I told the software to make a shadow layer as well. So I've got a shadow there.
Oh,
now,
so it's a mat for the title.
Exactly. Now I'm going to put it on the mat. You always want your mat to be clean. A little trick is just clean it with a wet wipe.
Okay.
As long as there's no alcohol in there, it'll clean just fine. I've gone ahead and laid all the papers out on a mat.
I see you've got lots of different colors on there.
And they match exactly the layout of the materials on the screen.
So how does the paper stick to the mat?
The mat's a little sticky, kind of like a repositionable note. So it's easy to just take things on and off.
And when you clean it, that doesn't take the sticky off?
As long as there's no alcohol in that wipe, you'll be just fine.
Cool.
So I'm going to go ahead and just set the blade to be at that corner of the paper.
And I know you said that you could use all sorts of materials, so you just adjust the pressure of the machine for the different material?
Exactly. And now it's cutting all those pieces at the same time.
I love that. I love anything where you can do a lot of stuff all at once.
So that made it really, really easy. And you can see that it cuts all the different pieces.
Wow, that was really fast. I don't know why. I thought it would take longer somehow.
It cuts at about 25 inches a second.
Wow.
And I have it on about half speed right now.
Cool. Does the speed affect the accuracy of the cut or anything like that?
It depends on the material. If I'm cutting something really, really detailed, if we have time to look, you'll see there's a thorn on a rose. I'd slow it down a little bit.
Okay.
But these are kind of big shapes, so they're pretty easy to cut.
That's amazing.
So we're done. We take it out. And you can see if we just take off the pieces, there's the outline of that house.
Oh, it peels off so easily.
Yep, and then we would have this layer as well. So we'd take off all the pieces, glue them together.
Okay.
The last thing I wanted to show you was how easily we can print and cut an
Joe,
image.
I want to see what it looks like when it's all together.
Oh, when it's all together. Well, you know, thanks to the magic, There's a piece all together.
Beautiful. And I love how you do see that tiny little door detail, and I like the dimension that you've added in. Okay, so show me the other thing that you were going to show.
The last thing here is I want to show you how easily we can cut an image that we've printed. So this image has been printed out.
So that was printed out of this machine?
No, you want to print on your printer. So any printer will work just fine.
Okay, that's cool.
And we're going to go ahead and say cut. And there's a laser inside the machine that helps line everything up. So when I say cut, I can go ahead.
It's going to cut exactly where you want it to. I like things that line up really easily like that.
Well, you'll see there's a tiny little red laser dot. And all I need to do is get it lined up. See it exactly on the corner of the paper there. And then as I go ahead and cut, I just am lining it up to those red dots. And I won't go through the whole process now since we have some limited time. But there we go.
There we go. It's all lined up, and it makes it so easy. And the dot disappears, right?
The
when
dot
it lines
disappears,
up so that you know.
and it's done now. It's going to exactly fussy cut those butterflies in that
That's awesome. And I know you're working on a PC, but will this work for a Mac also?
PC or Mac.
That's great.
And I've got a piece that I fussy cut already, and it just cuts out perfect around the butterflies and that little gnome.
And I know there are lots of other materials that you can cut really easily.
I cut some vinyl here and some paper. I cut stencil material and pushed paint through it. I cut double-sided adhesive. This is real wood veneer.
Cool.
A little bit of fabric, and then I even etched some scratch board. And look at the detail in that scratch board.
So many possibilities.
You got it, embossing and even some vellum.
This has been awesome, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.